Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big League Breakdowns. This is episode 20 and our trade deadline discussion episode here on the podcast. As we are just about a week out from the MLB trade deadline, teams looking to add, teams looking to sell off their pieces, and always a fun time of the baseball year. All four of us are here today for this episode. Thank you to everybody that saw our watch party. That was actually a lot of fun the first time we had done something like that, and that was a lot of fun for All-Star Weekend. But now we're back on the regular podcast grind, and again here for the trade deadline talk, who we think should be selling, the trade targets out there, who we think they'll go to, all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, we're just going to get right into it, without the other boys even saying an absolute word. First couple of teams we're going to talk about is, I think we've got, at least I've kind of classified them as like the 6 or 7 teams that I'm pretty confident in saying that they're going to try to buy. Those teams being the Phillies, the Orioles, Yankees, Braves, Dodgers, and Guardians. Um, let's talk about those teams first, because like I said, I'm pretty confident in those teams at least looking to add one piece. And you know, we'll start with the Phillies. I mean, this has been the most complete roster in the league this season. But of course, they're still looking to add maybe a right-handed bat in the outfield. What do you think they're going to do? I mean, it's one of those things where they have so many stars, and you don't want to give up potentially top prospects. But what do you think the play for them is?
The play, I think, is probably a right-handed outfielder to either complement Marsh in left field or Rojas in center field. I know Rojas is a right-hander, but Rojas has had better numbers versus right-handers this season, and hence why he and Pache, for the time being, have been platooning. However, this past series in Pittsburgh has kind of tossed in the idea that maybe they want to look more for a back end relief pitcher with Alvarado struggling. He blew the first game versus the Pirates. That was kind of how he was wrapping up the his first half going into the All Star break. Anyway, the biggest thing though with the Phillies is that they are not going to try and disrupt the chemistry that is going on in the clubhouse, because that's the big thing that they've been about going into the season and throughout, is they do not want to disrupt that. They sent down Marshawn recently. There's probably a lot of arguments that he should have been the one in the majors instead of Stubbs once Real Muto came back. But Stubbs is a big clubhouse presence. There's potentially some arguments too about what the Phillies should do with Pache, because Pache is known to be one of the funniest guys in the clubhouse. So if they get rid of him, if they get an outfielder, then does that disrupt it at all? Weston Wilson has performed well recently versus left-handers, so he could be a solution there. I think you're right what you said before, that the Phillies aren't gonna break the bank when it comes to a move. If they do, it's gonna be like a player that is a multi-year controlled, most likely a bullpen piece that could be, in the eyes of Dombrowski and the organization, the piece that solidifies not only a real shot at the World Series this year, which there's already a ton to believe that they have a realistic shot, and also years to come.
But I think, like, so a lot of people have been mocking Luis Robert to the Phillies, and like,
Stop.
while obviously that's a big piece, I think they'd have to give up somebody like Justin Crawford, who I think the Phillies are pretty hellbent on, they won't give him up or don't want to give him up. And to me, it's like you have this fantastic roster. Um, again, maybe you're looking at an outfield piece, but like you still have Marsh out there, and Rojas, and again, maybe a right-handed bat. But like, how much are they really going to give up? So I do think it's probably. I think they'd probably be okay with, yeah, maybe just a bullpen piece. But other than that, they're fine with sticking to where they're
I
at.
I do think they're going to get an outfield piece eventually. It just seems like it's going to
Yeah,
happen, but I think it's on the level of like a Tommy Pham or a Kevin Pillar, not
yeah,
a
they're not
Roberts or Ed
right.
Rosarena.
Right. I was gonna say, I mean, the big Robert's been the guy all year, obviously. That's kind of been the big piece. that everybody's talking about. Speaking of Robert, actually, I actually seen a few people mocking him to the Orioles as well. So, John, I'll go to you on this one. With the Orioles, I mean, what do you think they need? There's been a lot of rumors recently about Skubal potentially getting traded there, which I'll rant about that in a second. But as an Orioles fan,
There,
what do you think?
there is too much uh, of a need for pitching in the case of the Orioles, where a bat is secondary. In my opinion, they need bullpen help and they need a starting pitcher like a Skubal to really bolster the, not just for this year and for this season, but for next season and the season after that, because I think he has 2 more years of of control. The thing with the Orioles is don't sell, the house. Don't, get a starting pitcher, get Skubal if you can. Your bullpen needs help. Uh, if you can get like a Mason Miller, see if you can, have those conversations, but don't give up all three of your big prospects of Holiday, Mayo, and Basayo. I think Holiday, Mayo, and Kerstead are your pieces that you cannot move. In my opinion,
I,
one
I
one
sorry, I was just gonna say cutting in. I think if they trade for Skubal, I mean, the first name that coming off of that is Holiday. Like, I mean, if they in your opinion, like, should they trade for a guy? I mean, obviously, like, you want a guy like Skubal, but knowing that you're gonna probably have to give up maybe Jackson Holiday, probably more than that. Is it better for the Orioles to maybe go with a lesser uh, name in the sense, but somebody who's still very productive, like actually Jack Flaherty, Scooball's teammate, like he's somebody that would be so much cheaper.
No, you can't go. You can't revisit Jack Flaherty, Tyler.
How dare
They
you
made
bring
that
up this
mistake
name to
last
an
year.
Orioles fan?
Jeez, like he didn't want to be here, and that was pretty evident by the way he was pitching. So fine, whatever. But if you're the Orioles, you have to try and make a run for Skubal. You just don't want to give up the farm. If you're trying to go after him, probably the least amount of prospects to give up would be Holiday and somebody else, and then there's your package. But you might want to go after like you know maybe a Stowers and a Connor Norby and maybe even Austin Hayes and Cedric Mullins as a package there for Skubal. Maybe that's it. I mean, the thing with and I'm sure we're going to talk about this, but the thing with the Tigers, in my opinion, they need to get prospects to help them for the coming years. You'll improve yourself more by doing that than keeping Skubal. So it's probably more beneficial for them to do that.
I will say
Can
on the
can
Tigers
I?
front,
I want to go back to what you said about the team chemistry in the clubhouse, though. Will
go
make a
ahead.
comment on that for big teams like the Phillies, for the Orioles. I personally think that is secondary, and you need to focus more on winning than focus on the team chemistry.
No.
The Phillies need to learn from last year's mistake and get some pitching for their bullpen. All right.
Well, all right. Here's the thing about chemistry, and here's the thing about just a job in general, regardless of baseball or not. You're going to do better at something that you enjoy. Chemistry is something that'll absolutely boost whatever work environment you're in. If you're doing great with your coworkers and you enjoy being around one another and you create a nice work environment, you want to play better. It's kind of a hand in hand sort of thing. Yes, you always want to win, but when the chemistry is good and you're winning, don't disrupt that. If you disrupt the chemistry while you're winning, you're going to start losing. It's happened to teams in the past where it seems like weird, maybe personality choices or strong personality choices, probably the better way to say it, were introduced into clubhouses that were already doing well. And all of a sudden it seemed like a discord kind of started, or at least there was a split sense of maybe captain leadership. I don't know. But that I feel like to say chemistry is second is more I agree winning is always the number one thing, but the thing about chemistry is it's right up there with the leadership thing. Like, I want my team to actually like one another and play well together. Otherwise, if they're not playing well, they're not going to be happy. And if they're not going to be happy, then the chemistry is probably not going to be ideal anyway.
So
I understand that.
So
However,
you're saying Jazz Chisholm to the Phillies is not a good idea.
Oh, I 100% agree. And that is part of the reason why I want him to stay far away.
I do think that a different Marlin to the Phillies would be a good idea, and that's Tanner Scott.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think
I'm
that
not
would be
opposed to that.
And-
I
and
don't
I'm
think
not
they're going to go with a
saying-
left-hander.
I'm not saying get rid of your key pieces when I say disrupt the chemistry, but what I'm saying is don't pass up the opportunity to get better to help you just because you're worried about throwing everything off. When you have a piece, like say you're worried about bringing in like a Tanner Scott because he's come from the Marlins or whatever the reason may be, I don't know, we'll just make up a reason. Don't do that just because you're afraid of the chemistry.
Well, that's not what I mean by chemistry. Inserting someone into a already established good chemistry environment is not a bad thing. Though again, it depends on who you bring in. Someone like Chisholm, I would say no. There's a lot of question marks already with him in clubhouses.
Yeah.
And how teammates have felt about him. That yes, from a Phillies standpoint, he would probably be an upgrade offensively this year, definitely over what Stott has done and what Rojas has done, though defensively he is far inferior to what Rojas has done. I don't want him anywhere near the clubhouse and the organization because I don't feel like that would be a good match. However, Tanner Scott, I don't have anything against him in my mind, and he's a really talented pitcher where I would trade for him and hope that he would slide right into the pre-established chemistry. It's more of if I was to bring in, say, the Phillies could use a better backup catcher behind Real Muto for the rest of the season. So we go and trade for like Elias Diaz of the Rockies, who is having a great season and is a free agent after this year. While that would benefit the offense, it's such a minor move in the grand scheme of things that losing Stubbs, I feel like, is more important than gaining someone who would be a little better than Stubbs, because truth is, once the postseason hits, Stubbs is going to be a bench person unless Real Muto gets hurt. And I'm not going to foreshadow or try to build depth in that sense. The depth is to get you into the postseason. And then once you're in the postseason, it's all about throwing your big guns at each game and hopefully takes you all the way.
Yeah.
I want to kind of real quick bring in the just overall Philly angle of this, by the way, because this is not the first time that a Philly team would win a championship off of pure vibes. I feel like the Eagles did that with the Patriots.
93 Phillies.
Back in 18, because they won with a second string quarterback. They beat Tom Brady with a second string quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, that is no disrespect to Foles, but
they were
to
also
say
the best
that
team
team
in
was
football that year, but
I mean, they were, but at the same time, like, did you see how that locker room was like during that time for the Birds? Like, did you see just like the whole reason why Dreams and Nightmares is such a vibe is because they were all blasting that shit during the stadium, and you could just tell they were all just feeling each other. Like they were all over that song. They were all over each other. Like they were 100% belief. It didn't matter that. And man, how much of a fall from grace with Carson Wentz, but it did not matter that he went down at all in the slightest. So anything that's going to disrupt chemistry here, especially for the team like the Phillies, is just never going to be a good deal, regardless of talent.
yeah,
I think it's
for a
what Will
different
said.
podcast.
I think it's what Will said though. Like it's depending on the you're talking about a backup catcher, right? Like it's not a big impact guy, but if he's a glue guy in your locker room, is he really worth replacing for an upgrade? Now, again, if they're trying to really, get somebody in the outfield that's a big, even like Brent Rooker, if they want to try to bring him in or something like, obviously he'd be a great addition. But what happens with, Rojas and I still think, I mean, Rojas has his struggles at the plate, but that guy's an insane fielder. So I think there's options for the Phillies, but as Will said, I think it's more of a bullpen option. As far as the Orioles, I do think they will add pitching. I can't believe the Tigers are actually potentially giving up Scooball. I know that they could get a haul back of prospects, and I mean, look, Jackson Holiday's in the conversation as a trade piece. Like, obviously, that's very enticing. However, this guy has, been one of the best pitchers in the league this year. He's gotten better every year, and it's like the Tigers are only 2 games under 500. Like, I know that they're not in an ideal spot to make the playoffs, but it feels like every time the Tigers get hope, something just absolutely brings them back down. And I feel like trading your best pitcher, who's been their best ace since Verlander, probably, like, it's just I can't believe that it actually has come up.
You're right in that sense that it doesn't make, when you look at it from, the outside looking in, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you look at it from inside their division, who they'll have to compete against to win the division, first of all, and to also get a playoff spot, because more than likely, most years, there's going to be 3 AL East teams or 2 AL East teams and 2 AL West teams. That only leaves one spot left that is up for grabs. So in terms of a wild card, so you're also keeping up with the Royals, with the Guardians, the Twins
Yeah.
seem to have up and down years. So it's almost beneficial to, at least in my opinion, realize, hey, we're 2 games under 500. This is a great year. Let's try and get to 500. Let's not throw in the towel completely, but let's plan for the future. We need to plan for
Trading Scooball
2 years.
destroys that near future. That's what
I mean,
is
It might
crazy about
destroy the
deal.
near future, but it might help you for the next 7 years.
But the thing is, Scooball has to be part of that because he is the ace for that team and is under team control for 4 more years or something.
Yeah, Scooball's young-ish.
Yeah. So if you the thing about if you want to trade someone in that situation, it's usually like you want to trade like a bullpen piece or a closer even, because those are the types of positions that if you're not competing at the moment, you don't really have to have. And hence in the A's situation, when you have such a superstar closer like Miller, you can trade Miller. And then if it turned out in 2 years, your team suddenly got enough young talent and were somewhat competing in that division, then you could try to sign your closer out of what the free agent pool has. And because bullpens get assembled year after year, if you trade Scooball, you're basically forfeiting 3 years in this rebuild sense, because the pitching situation for the team right now is actually pretty good. It's one of the strengths. I'm not saying it's like above and beyond, but their offense is really, really poor. So they can trade veteran pieces that they don't think are really going to be in the picture that they can get rid of because they want to get rid of Baez, but no one in their right mind would take them. Or they can trade players that are on or approaching expiring contracts. Jack Flaherty is basically the big piece that I think out of that pitching staff should get traded, will get traded, and can give them something because of his mini resurgence season. But if the Tigers truly want to compete at all in the near future, they need to keep Scooball. And I don't think it's absurd to think next year, since we were already feeling iffy about the Central when making our predictions this year, that the Guardians seem to have overperformed offensively this year. They dip off next year. So do the Twins. And then the Royals hit a plateau. The division's still very up for grabs in the near future, barring someone gets a big name in an offseason or two or something and just solidifies whatever group they have. But the Tigers can't get rid of Scoop.
Do you think the Tigers would be more willing to, instead of being sellers, be buyers, had the Royals not obviously been the Royals that they've been this year? If they were, in a spot like they were last year, and even the Guardians overperforming, because they're 6 games out of a wild card spot. They're 2 games under 500. I think they're 11-5 in July. This is a team that, again, could probably still get into that playoff picture. And I know that the AL picture is a lot different than the NL. But, again, I mean, they're talking about trading. And I understand that the offense has been an issue and is an issue again this year. But to me, it's just kind of wild that they're talking about trading a 27-year-old with control for multiple years when you're 2 games out of a wild card spot, and he's like the best thing they've had for a while. It's wild to me. Like I feel like
If there's a reason for that, keep in mind, odds are they have had conversations saying there's no way we can re-sign him.
that's so.
But it's so early out.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, I get what getting a prospect like Jackson Holiday or whatever. I get why that's enticing, but like it feels like, as Will kind of said, they've been rebuilding and they're kind of in like a decent spot. You're resetting yourself. I feel like when you're not even in the worst position, I don't know. The Tigers baffle me. They're one of the teams that I kind of had on like, what should these guys do? And it's very confusing because it's like, there's so much. Let's go over to the Dodgers real quick. I think this was kind of a no-brainer. With they're going to make a trade. By the way, Jack, I just looked. So Schoolball's 27. Jack Flaherty's only 28. I swear to God, that guy's been in the league forever.
He's
I
been in
thought,
the league forever.
I literally thought he was like 33. Like,
no, he started young with the Cardinals,
Yeah.
if I remember
Yeah, he
correctly.
Regardless, I feel like Flaherty, I think he'll end up going to the Astros. That's what I'm predicting. But I feel like the Dodgers would be another team that are really, I mean, they need starting pitching. They just DFA'd James Paxton. I know, Kershaw's coming back, but they're going to look to add a piece. I would be absolutely shocked if they didn't add a starting pitcher alongside a bat. I mean, well, I'm actually going to ask you. So the Phillies and Dodgers just had a series recently, and the Phillies swept them. And I know how good the Phillies have been, but with the current state of the Dodgers right now, I mean, do you think they can compete with, the Phillies in the NL, and then if they were to make it to the World Series, like all the big AL teams? Like I don't know. You look at this team on paper, and obviously they should be probably the best team in the league, but can they compete with those teams?
Talent-wise, yes. What they're actually performing at now, they need probably another bat and another starting pitcher. Starting pitching has been the big issue for the Dodgers in recent years, and it always seems to be because of either injuries or inexperience or Dave Roberts not knowing how to manage a bullpen. So the Dodgers do need another starting pitcher, preferably if they could get a starter who had some playoff experience and it was good playoff experience. That would be very beneficial. The main thing I think about from that series in Philly was that the Dodgers lineup was somewhat intimidating for the top 4, I think it was, maybe 5. And then there was a big drop-off in performance in their bottom half of the lineup, because I understand Betts is hurt right now, but the lineup was like Ohtani, Freeman, Smith, and Hernandez. Very good top 4 of the lineup. It's got a lot of pop. After that, you had Outman, Pages, Rojas, Lux, a lot of guys hitting like below like 230 and not having necessarily great seasons. And Rojas is having a great season, but he's not an everyday player. So the Dodgers need another bat to help make it a deeper lineup, or they need some guys like Outman, who had a great rookie year, find his groove again, or Lux finding his spark. But I mean,
sounds like a hope and a prayer.
Honestly, though, I'm not opposed to that at all, because we can think of instances in the last few years where it felt like the Dodgers were in a decent situation, and one of the things that hurt them was a poor move to the bullpen because Roberts pulled the string too early on the pitcher. So, I mean, you just got to hope that whatever talent they have is found some way. I still feel like Roberts should go. I get that the Dodgers have had a lot of winning teams, but I never felt like he's managed the teams properly when it mattered. And so they just kind of coast into the postseason and then quickly get the rug pulled underneath them and wonder what happened. And the fans all seem to point their fingers at Roberts, but it's like, nah. He's had good seasons.
I mean, we all said at the beginning of the season, if you can't win a World Series with this video game team, you don't deserve to.
Well, it's not even that. They don't make it to the championship series.
regardless, like
Yeah, I mean,
If-
I remember watching them like 2018, 2019, with like some of the moves he made in the playoffs was just like
especially in the
absurd.
World Series stretch.
Like,
there.
and everybody knew except him. Like,
I mean,
everybody knew it was bad.
It's
guys,
the playoffs, so I have to pull my pitcher after 5 innings. Like, no, you don't. If it makes
Yeah.
sense, do it. If it doesn't make sense, don't do it.
guys, every 30 years, Mickey Mouse has to give out his ring too. Okay.
Of course.
Well, I mean, hey, it happened more than once.
I mean, the thing for the Dodgers too, you got to look at is, Mookie's obviously been out. I don't know when he is expected to come back. Muncy's been out for them, so I mean, they are missing some pieces. So bat wise, when they come back, I mean, maybe do they think that they'll be okay to not trade for a bat in that case? Maybe, but like I said, I'm betting the house that they're trading for one of the big starting pitchers. I think it. I mean, Crochet as well is in that conversation, and Will was saying before that apparently they're very keen on Crochet.
He's
I
a
read in
guy.
one
does that
article
deal
that they had
look
made
like?
an offer.
He's a
Yeah.
guy that I don't. If I was an organization and I was to trade for Crochet, I wouldn't trade for him as a starter. I would trade for him as a reliever, simply because this is his first year of being a starter, and you don't know how. He has a lot of question marks to me about his innings limit. Like he
Yeah.
passed that in May, so you don't know how he's going to perform in late August and September when he's, already surpassed, how much he's thrown previously. So he's a big question mark to me. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, he
For the
could work
Dodgers,
for the
though.
Dodgers in the same way that I guess I had the question marks about Sale entering the season for the Braves, where Crochet, I still don't. There's very few teams I feel like that can truly trade for him and like actually kind of get whatever they get, they'll be okay. Because the Dodgers in their situation, that Crochet wouldn't have to be the top guy, hopefully. Glass now in their eyes is their ace. Yamamoto's going to come back. Kershaw's been with the team for God knows how long. You would have Crochet, and then you would have Knack or some other pitcher. Plus, at that point, if you're entering the postseason, you just need. I mean, nowadays you could almost get by with 3 pitchers,
Yeah.
but you need 3 or 4 starters to get by, and the 5th one is just kind of helping you get through the bulk of the season. So, in that sense, Crochet would be fine in the Dodgers sense when you're looking at overall just the meat of the rotation. However, with the Dodgers, the people that they do have don't necessarily have either postseason experience or success. Glass now has a career ERA over 5. Yamamoto is, of course, a rookie.
Yeah.
Kershaw, everyone knows, has not had great postseason numbers. Bueller has, but he's on like the 60-day IL right now. And then, as you said about Crochet, he hasn't had postseason experience except out of the bullpen in the 2020 season, the same year he was drafted. And then he's already beyond his innings limit for his max innings for his
Like,
career.
that's
So
the
it is
thing.
just another question mark to a rotation of postseason question marks.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, you brought up having Jack Flaherty go to the Astros. I mean, a guy like Jack Flaherty for the Dodgers wouldn't be crazy out of it, but that's where you gotta look at that team and go, okay, what our season did not begin in April like everybody else, or March, whenever this year started. Our season begins in October. That's when we really need to turn on the Jets. Like everybody knew in January we were going to win this division. Like that was a given. So what is going to help you in the postseason? And a lot of times you can get away with throwing out your best 3 pitchers, and your best 3 pitchers are going to come back. The guys you trust are going to be there, on with the postseason. So you got to factor that stuff in. Honestly, I would go for, if I was Dodgers, I would go for Crochet. I would build up the bullpen. Like if Dave Roberts is going to pull the plug too early, don't worry. I don't need to worry about that because I have a fantastic pitcher coming in, from the bullpen to help me out here.
He's just not going to be in the bullpen.
I mean,
That would be
One
interesting.
here.
that's where
Can
I would
I-
put. That is where
can
I
I-
would put him.
I
Personally,
know this
You're
isn't
wrong.
part of your top 6 guys, Tyler, but can I kind of segue this to another team that I feel like we need to talk about?
The Astros.
No, I want to
Oh,
segue
okay.
it to the Blue Jays.
Okay.
Because if the Blue Jays are, because the Blue Jays are whether they should be sellers or buyers,
Yeah.
and because one of the guys that I've heard float around that if the Blue Jays were true about wanting to be sellers, one person the Dodgers could look at would be Kevin Gausman, which could be a great addition. And they're going to be a team that would splurge on anything if they thought it could be a big thing. But the question again remains, what are the Blue Jays going to do? I am on the side that they should sell because their team is their window's gone.
I think the Blue Jays are the biggest chip in this trade deadline because obviously you have Vladdy, you had Bo Bichette, but now he conveniently just got injured and is going to be out a few weeks. But you have Gausman, you have Bassett, you have Kikuchi. Like, there's a lot of pieces that teams would want. Obviously, Vladdy probably being the biggest if they look to move him. And I mean, like you said, yeah, like I mean, Gausman maybe being an option. I mean, dude, Toronto's 9 games under 500 right now. They're out of it right now, and you'd think that they've seen enough, but I don't know. To me, it sounds like they kind of want to stick and see what they have. But yeah,
But
just wanted to
why?
say I don't know. I mean,
I can
no
say why,
benefit.
but it's false hope in the end.
There's no benefit. You're not making a comeback.
I mean, I guess
Well, they're thinking about next year.
Yeah, and look, they've seen what their core was able to do. They were able to at least get them to the playoffs. Now I know that didn't go well for them, but maybe that's the hope. But
It's false hope. That's what it is.
I mean, realistically, like, do you think?
You want to talk about team chemistry? I think that's a team that has no chemistry.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I think that's bad leadership, not chemistry in the end. But maybe it's been both.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys realistically think that Vladdy wants to resign there though? Like, I guess that's my question because if there's any inkling that he doesn't want to be there, I think you gotta get something from him. You can't let him walk.
I mean, it's hard to say what I think Vladdy would do because Mike Trout resigned with the Angels. So
good point.
The fact that a player like that is willing to stick with his team, I don't know what any player thinks anymore.
I mean,
And the fact that the Blue Jays had at least a few years of success with a nice young core that maybe he has some deep attachment to ownership or the GM or something where he's kind of like the third decision maker when it comes to the big things and thinks about the future. But I mean, if I'm him, I would think I want to get out of here.
I mean, I don't know what his mindset is, but he is a Canadian Dominican like nationality. So I don't know if that is a big deal to him. It isn't for some guys. Other guys, it is. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, my personal opinion about the Blue Jays is you sell Guerrero, you sell Bichette, you sell Kikuchi, you sell the popcorn vendor, and you start rebuilding.
How many? Oh man, I was looking at George Springer too, but George Springer still has 2 years left at 24 a year. Jesus. Yeah, man. I just feel like for them, I think. I don't know. I mean, it hasn't worked in the past. I know that core has gotten into the playoffs. Unless they think that they can try to, patch us together, hold on, and maybe trade for somebody next season to revitalize. I don't know. I don't really know what prospects they have in the system either that are worth, a lot. But
that team has not been the same since the Mariners came back on that.
Whooped their ass. Yeah. So let's quickly go to the Yankees before
I'm going to let John take this.
we kind of get into everything else. So the Yankees, we've talked about them at some length because recently they had been struggling and they need help. Where they get that help, we'll see. But To me, I mean, they got to address that infield. What do you think, John?
Here is the issue, and this is the thing with the trade deadline and with trades. It makes your whether you are a big market team or a small market team, it is a level playing field. You cannot buy uh you cannot buy your way to a better team in this situation. That is for the off season. For this situation, I don't see anyone that the Yankees would be able to get rid of that would be outside of Judge and Soto, which we already know that's not going to happen. That another team would be willing to be like, "Oh yeah, we'll take him." It's fine. It's fine, guys. It's fine.
I mean, I know Dominguez is a prospect that was very highly rated and is kind of floated around as a piece that maybe they'd be looking
But
to
is
get
that
rid
enough
of.
to make a splash in for what they need? And what they need is all kinds of help. They are two superstars and a bunch of guys.
I think they're happy with their outfield. Obviously, Judge and Soto, I think they're happy with what Verdugo does defensively. I think, like, I the Rockies never trade people, so I really don't know. But hey, tying this in, your favorite player of all time, Ryan McMahon, man, he would be a great piece for the Yankees.
But who would the Rockies want from the Yankees?
Oh, dude, I mean, I'm sure the Yankees have prospects that are coveted that they want. I mean, they're not trading from their starting lineup. I can say that, but I think the Yankees need a piece in that infield where they can move LeMahieu to the bench and be a utility player.
I don't even think he'd be a good utility player.
I mean,
LeMahieu plays third, right?
yeah, I
For them
think
right now.
I think they need to replace third. I think Volpe you can stick with at short and hope he figures things out, but I think like everything else is up for
I
grabs.
f-
I mean,
I feel
Volpe
like the
kind of gets
Yankee.
screwed based on his position, in my opinion. So
I feel
Man.
like the Yankees right now are. I mean, they're in a pickle because I see two kind of avenues. They're basically going to try to trade for a bunch of smaller pieces that could fill up the holes without destroying the system, or they're going to trade away some big guy or two because they want to. They have Soto. They want to take full advantage of it, and there's rotation that for at least most of the season, inconsistent now, has been effective and healthy. Aside from Garrett Cole for the first like 2.5 months, but if they trade away a bunch of pieces, it doesn't work out, and then Soto walks in the offseason, they're kind of beyond screwed in a future sense.
I mean, yeah, in a
So,
future sense, but it's the Yankees.
I
They
mean,
just buy new players.
well, but the thing, I mean, but even then, there's a point where you can say that, sure, but you also have to wonder if players would want to go to the Yankees anymore, and
Yeah.
so
That is
especially when you have the
interesting-
Orioles and the Red Sox this year are resurging again.
That's something interesting that might be a future topic that we discuss more. Do players want to go to New York? Do they want to play for the Yankees? Do they want to play for the Mets? Honestly,
I mean, okay, so I'll pose this
Or if he
question.
doesn't,
I'll pose this question because, like, say the Yankees, they'll get a wild card spot, and say they go out in the wild card series. Does Soto resign? Like, I feel like he wants to be there. And I do feel like I think he probably will sign there, but they only have 1 year left on him, and they are
it's
gonna have
going
to
to be
spend money.
a bidding war between the Yankees
Absolutely.
and the Dodgers.
I mean, absolutely. But
can the
I
Dodgers
just wonder.
afford both Otani and Soto?
Dude,
Otani's getting $2 million a year, yes.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Yeah,
And Teoscar Hernandez is a free agent after this year, so that would be like $23 million off the books.
like I said, I think Soto wants to be there. It seems like he enjoys it, but just if they have an early exit, maybe does that change things? I just think, like, dude, if you're judging Soto, you got to be frustrated with how things have gone recently. You need some help in the infield. Like, it's you just can't. You can't have this. I mean, we're carrying the team. We need something.
I mean, listen, I keep going back. I keep thinking of the meme. It makes me smile every time. I'm doing my part. I'm doing my
Yeah.
part. I ain't done shit.
That is one of my favorites.
Can we keep giving players to the Dodgers and then they all keep deferring so that in 10 years they are like a worthless organization?
Yeah.
Like
What, so
they
they
just
go
defer
bankrupt
everybody. They're
again?
paying everyone at $2 million a year. They go bankrupt and then they just have to
Again?
either fold or just completely destroy themselves.
They go bankrupt again. You know,
Yeah,
whatever.
There's
I I think the Yankees are needing to make a trade.
I
like,
think we're
you
gonna
look-
find in the second half the Yankees are the frauds. I've been saying that.
Well,
they
that
are.
the thing is, like, you
I
look
thought
at
the
the
Red
roster.
Sox were the frauds.
Well, the Red
No, their
Sox.
pitching is frauds. They're not as good as people say. The Yankees are just a total.
You need a
total-
T-shirt that says "You're a fraud."
There's
need
your
a
clip
pro-
again.
I need a fraud button.
Yeah.
Fraud.
I just think, like, you look at the Yankees roster, and I know they have however many wins they have, but look at the Yankees roster compared to the Phillies, to the Dodgers,
To the
to
Orioles.
the Orioles. Like, it just doesn't compare. And like,
It's two
for a-
guys and everyone else.
no, and for a team that started off so well, it's like now they're starting to fall off, and you really have questions. So I think, I mean, me and Will kind of talking about this on the quick vid, but I think for Aaron Boone, this is it. If he doesn't produce something in the postseason with them this year, he's gone. They need to get somebody in to help them out, because
It would be very interesting if, when that happens, would that be cause for like the fans to be like, "Hey, we need new ownership, not just a new manager."
well, I mean, that opens up a whole new thing, but
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think that would be the result of firing Boone, still don't get good results, and then just going up the ladder of.
Well,
Whose
you
head you
need
want
to
next?
fire Cashman as well.
yeah.
I agree with that, but I don't think they're going to fire. I don't think ownership will fire Cashman. They will fire Boone first.
He was-
Maybe
he was-
miracle move. They both get fired, but Boone would be the first one out. Cashman would be the
You know
next one out, unless he's basically connected with ownership and he doesn't leave unless ownership leaves.
As an analyst on this podcast, the Yankees need to fire Boone and Cashman. As an Orioles fan, keep them around. I love these guys.
I
Fair.
mean, Will has already put the shirts to the press, the Fire Boone, Fire Cashman shirt. So
I'm a
it-
t-shirt
it's-
machine.
Dude, the guy loves t-shirts. All right, I want to tie two teams in because I think they're kind of in similar positions. The Guardians and the Brewers, two teams that, well, first of all, have exceeded our expectations coming into the year. But they're two teams that traditionally like haven't been big buyers. Like, they're not these big market teams, and they're very careful with what they do. And they're both in very similar positions this year. They lead their divisions only by a few. Cardinals are 5 games behind the Brewers. Twins are 5 behind the Guardians. So, do you guys see like these teams making moves? I feel like, if anything, again, probably minor pieces, maybe pitching for both teams, but
That's I'd
You
say
know.
pitching more for the Brewers than for the
Yeah.
Guardians. Honestly, I could see. I mean, the Guardians still need to improve their pitching. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's more of a glaring issue for the Brewers.
Yeah.
Because their bats. I mean, they walk with kind of a bad guy swagger about them, in my opinion. But
yeah,
when it comes to the Brewers, for me it's not just relief pitching that they need help with; it's starting pitching, and I think they could improve there. I think overall, I think that would be a big improvement for them. I mean, whereas for the Guardians, it's more so relief pitching, just adding to their bullpen.
yeah,
That's the case with a lot of these good teams, like the Guardians, even the Dodgers. Like I said, like sometimes it's just something as simple as, "Hey, let's get a bullpen piece."
yeah. And I think there's definitely a tier ranking of like kind of pitchers available for trade, and then you have your Crochets. I really think Flaherty is probably in that conversation as well. And then you have guys like Eric Fetty, you have Tyler Anderson. So like I could see the Brewers potentially going over that, maybe Kikuchi as well. Will, I mean, what do you think? I feel like, they're the Brewers are doing what they need to do to win, and I don't think they want to really do too much to that team, but just maybe add like a smaller starting pitching piece.
I mean, the Brewers are a weird team to begin with because they traded Burns in the offseason, and
I
then there was
know.
that whole question about what was going to be the state of the team moving forward. However, and also Devin
we all
Williams
picked
getting
them to
hurt
finish
before
last,
opening
didn't we?
day.
What's
Yeah, we
that?
all predicted the Brewers to finish
Yes.
last.
Yep. Which
It still
wow.
could happen somehow.
Yeah, I guess they could fall off a cliff.
It's close enough of a
And,
division that
you
I
know-
guess if everyone else got hot enough and that team was like, we're done. But
we tap. We had a good run.
yeah, but I
It's
mean, the
September.
thing, about the Brewers and Guardians, though, in general, they're both mid-market spenders, and they're not going to blow the bank on anyone. The Guardians have more of a chance of maybe going for a little bit extra in the like someone they get. Like I had Jameson Tyone as an ideal fit for the Guardians. The Brewers are more, I think, looking for complementary pieces that really don't move anyone around.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. If they make any moves, it's not for the future. They're kind of letting their future speak for itself right now with Terang and Ortiz. Maybe they get a kind of like an Eric Fetty type of pitcher that's
yeah.
done much better than expected, but wouldn't cost a whole lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't think they're going to give up, and that's why I say, like, in the tier, not the tier list, but the rankings of pitchers, I think you're looking more at a Fetty or, I mean, Tyler Anderson. I think would be a good target for them too. I have Tyler Anderson going to a different team, but
I do too.
yeah, but like, I
No,
mean,
actually, I said I don't think he's going to get traded in the end, but he's
really?
a target piece.
I mean, all-star
we'll
for
see.
them this year. I know it's the Angels.
All-star, no spotlight, wasn't used in the game.
Well, also, like, the Angels did have to send somebody, but still, like, I think it's
You gotta
worth
put him in
putting
the
his
game.
name. Yeah, it's worth putting his name out there.
I actually have the Angels dealing a surprise outfielder.
Oh boy, is
so-
it Mike Trout?
No, it's not Trout.
Did you say
Unfortunately
Ward?
for Philly? It's actually Adele. Like I think
He's been talked about also
I
as a
think-
trade person.
I think they should trade him. Honestly, I don't think that.
Honestly, I don't think they would be against that many fans. Adele's been kind of a basket case.
I mean, he keeps running himself in and out, so that's his issue. Anyway,
I mean, Mike Trout wants to see a fifth rebuild in his time there, so why not? Let's just trade
Send
every-
Adele to the Pirates.
To be fair, well, hey,
actually, that wouldn't be the worst thing for the
no,
Pirates.
I we'll talk about them in a little bit, but they were targeting another Angels outfielder for a while, and apparently that
Mike Trout?
no.
I love how we had the same
Close.
idea.
But no, I think for the Brewers and Guardians, they're kind of in the same boat, and I think we can kind of get into the where everybody else ranks or what we think they're gonna do. Funnily enough, I mean, you can kind of throw Houston in that category too, because surprise, surprise, they're back in the mix, like everybody thought they'd be.
So I thought we were gonna have.
Die.
I thought we were gonna have an episode of like mid-season predictions before the All-Star break that just never happened. So I still made notes anyway, and my prediction for the second half was that the Astros would overtake the Mariners, and the Mariners would be shell-shocked, make the postseason as a wild card team, and lose in the wild card series.
Well,
They won't die.
I was gonna say newsflash. They've already overtaken the Mariners.
They did it instantly.
Like,
All right, we
it
wanna-
didn't take
no.
long.
All right, if you're going to talk about the Astros, Mariners, they're sellers. They need offense badly.
Yeah. Okay. Out of all the talking about Vladdy again, this would be a good spot for him. I think Seattle
Mhm.
getting Vladdy would be huge for them. I
Oh
think.
yes, that
I
would
think that-
be
I think-
very good.
I mean, they'd be legitimate contenders. I think if they get him.
That would be
Um,
scary. I don't foresee it because I
Yeah.
don't think they would break out the wallet that would be needed to keep him. So he would be a rental.
Yeah,
But-
potentially.
They would have one more year of him. This
Right,
is
Oh,
they
is it
would,
one
but
more
they're
year?
already
Right.
they're already paying Rodriguez.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of those like mid-market teams again. So, you don't know, but I think you can kind of talk about all three of the top three AL West teams here. So Houston, again, they get back into it.
Three, it's top two.
No, why? Because I know I want to talk about the Rangers though, because they're another interesting. Like I think there's a few teams in this
They're into that.
in the league that are kind of like going to be big chess pieces in terms of what happens with the trade deadline. I have the Rangers as the kind of that piece, just for the fact that I don't know if they're going to be buyers or sellers. The Rangers being a piece, the Tigers, although they're more selling, but again, should they? And then the Nationals, like again, they'll probably sell, but also they've exceeded expectations, and they're only
I
a
don't think the
two-game better
Nationals
five.
should sell. I feel
That's-
like
I
they
think
should
they
be
should
very,
hold.
I
very
don't.
complacent.
I mean, I don't think so either, but I think it's in their nature that they're going to.
I
but-
think the Rangers should sell, and I don't think they are.
But regardless,
I agree with that.
I think those three teams kind of have a chokehold. But Houston needs a trade for a pitcher. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They're
Yes.
so hurt in the starting rotation, like they've
Yes.
been since March, that they need somebody. And like I said, I think Flaherty goes there. That's my prediction.
I think
I
that'd be a good piece for them. I don't know.
I don't think Crochet is going there. I mean, again, maybe would they rely on something again a tier down with like Fetty maybe because he's had a good year. But I think they're gonna go for a guy that
I mean, they're going to get some of their guys back, so they really just need someone else to help kind of lead
Oh,
the
will remove.
like hold the fort and join Verlander and Valdez when they
Yeah,
enter postseason stuff.
yeah. I
It
just
won't die.
dude, it's inevitable. We knew this was gonna happen. I like
They'll probably need another bullpen arm.
they were the worst team
Yeah.
in the league, and
I have the
here
same
they
thing.
are. I mean,
I have the Astros getting Tanner Scott.
would they want another lefty though? With
I don't trust what they have.
I mean, I wouldn't either.
I mean, fair
Back
point.
end's the issue right now. Like,
Yeah,
Can we go
Flip
to
flip a
the
coin. Who
Athletics
can
real
do it
quick?
today?
I have an interesting take on the Athletics.
the
And-
Athletics.
yeah,
Okay.
and it's predictable in the sense of I think they should sell. However, I think you need to sell and get as many prospects as you can for Mason Miller and Brent Rooker and all these other guys that
But wait,
are
no,
somewhat-
stop. Mason Miller, Brent Rooker. That's all that's worth on that team. I'm not kidding. There's nothing else. Like,
could
I
trade Geloff.
understand. I'm just saying, sell what you can and use your years in Sacramento to rebuild, so that way when you do eventually get to Vegas, whether that's
Because everyone wants to
5
see
years from
Aaron
now-
Judge in Sacramento.
yeah, I mean,
I know we harp on this, but can we just talk about the sense that John just said, where it's like use your years in Sacramento to rebuild before you move to your permanent home? Like that doesn't get uttered very often when we're talking about sports.
I mean,
welcome to the athletic experience.
They're going
Yeah,
to the
seriously.
charging station.
if you're gonna help your organization that doesn't like to spend money, get a ton of prospects, sell the guys that you know you're not going to pay, and just use your time in the minor league field, since we can't call you a minor league team technically.
Remember
to-
when the Athletics started the first 40 games like at 500? That was a fun time. They're now 39 and 62. So,
They had a horrendous June.
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, literally, like I'm not even kidding. Like, look at their roster. It's literally only
They can trade some of their veteran pitching probably too.
bro. Who wants Mitch Spence, dog?
Not, I said veteran,
I know. I
not
know.
failures.
All right, Paul Blackburn's hurt, so like you can't go. I don't know, man.
Alex
I'm just
Wood, Ross
saying, I'm just
Stripling
saying,
are the
use
two
your
main
years
ones.
in Sacramento to like recharge the organization's battery, have a nice Mai Tai, hang out by the beach. I don't, get some sun, maybe lay a few
in
crops.
Sacramento?
Yeah, but lay a few crops and grow some prospects. So that way when you get to Vegas, you have something that's marketable.
I mean, funnily enough, I don't think it would happen in division, but Mason Miller with the Astros would potentially be a possibility.
If that happens, I am breaking my keyboard.
I would be furious. That
I,
is literally, they won't die.
they're not. I don't think they'll trade in division. I don't know.
I will
The
say this:
Athletics.
one person I thought the Astros should consider trading for, if this person's available, is Vladdy.
Really? Yeah. Well, hey, they've been having
They
first
need
base
first
problems all
base.
year. Dude, they had Jose Abreu going through the ringer down there in single A or wherever the hell he was.
Like
Yeah.
they could use that,
Oh
and then
man,
Bregman's
you
gonna go.
you
So
just put
like,
that into the universe,
it
man.
makes sense a
What
lot. But I don't
one
think
last
the Blue Jays will get rid
dance.
of Vladdy.
One last dance. Bregman goes. Vladdy doesn't come back. Oh God, I hate that. Yeah, I feel like the Astros have to add pitching. The Mariners have to add bats. You can't like their offense is actually horrible, and I don't even know how it's possible. They're that
Mariners, you
horrible.
had them by the throat, and you let them off the mat.
Dude, is it even like the Mariners or like the Astros? They're inevitable, man. You can't kill them.
I didn't realize they were Thanos here.
Look, another in division trade, but hey, Brent Rooker to the Mariners would be a good trade for them too. Like, I just feel like, Brent
There's a
Rooker's
couple other teams I think that'll go for him first.
I'm not gonna lie.
Well, when you're editing this, can you put the clip from Moneyball? The Yankees are taking our kidneys. The Red Sox are taking our heart. The Astros are taking our kidneys. The Mariners are taking our heart.
Hey, again, they have two pieces to get rid of. I will say, as a Pirates fan, the Brent Rooker's the guy I want out of everybody. Like, I'm not even kidding. The guy has been really good this
I
year.
don't think you're gonna get him.
I don't think so either. But man, that would be nice.
Yeah, it would also be nice to have $1 million. You're not getting that either.
Hey, we're doing okay right now. Let me have that.
Actually, I think that you guys should hold and keep building. Like, add
dude,
the pieces you need to
well,
add.
they're not gonna sell
Don't
major
sell.
stuff.
Let's get into it because I actually want to talk about. I have my notes here. I'm like, all right, what team should buy or sell? I have the whole NL Central outside of the Brewers because that shit is there's an absolute just crapshoot, right? And you have the Pirates there, you have the Cardinals who are hovering around 500. The Cubs are not having a great year; they're only a few games under. But the fifth place Reds are only 6 games under 500, and it's like this division is kind of crazy because what do you do? I've been saying this, and I know the narrative is out there with Pirates now, is that their pitching is good enough to be in the playoffs. Their bats are not. Like if they want to make the playoffs, the two spots that they need have been the corner outfielders, and we're talking about Taylor Ward, from the Angels. Apparently that was in the works, but that maybe fell through. I'm not sure. But a guy like Rooker, man, apparently Jazz is also being talked about, which.
Have fun.
I
want to see him fight McCutcheon.
I don't know, dude.
The Pirates haven't been this marketable since McCutcheon won the MVP.
Yeah, you're damn right. You're damn right, man. They haven't. They finally. Again, the pitching.
They are the Sheets.
They nice. They have three great pitchers. Jared Jones is hurt right now, but you have Skeens, you have Keller, like you have that three, the big three, if you will, pitching to get you in the playoffs. And honestly, like their 4 and 5 guys have been really good too. Their starting pitching has been
the rotation
amazing.
Is sneaky good for a postseason run from an unexpected team.
We talked about this, but I thought the bats were not going to be an issue. I thought the bullpen was going to be good. My biggest problem with this team is that their pitching was going to be bad. Their starting pitching at the in spring training, it's been the exact opposite. So I think the Pirates are like a bat or two away from maybe getting closer into that conversation. But I guess really talking about not only the NL Central but the NL as a whole, you have such a logjam of teams where really outside of the Rockies and Marlins, or excuse me, besides the Rockies and Marlins, everybody's in the conversation for the playoffs right now.
And that's the issue that we have with this trade deadline, and why there's a lot of question marks, and why you have a lot of teams that are going to be like really up in the air. We don't know what to do because you're fishing from a very shallow pond.
Yeah.
You have the Marlins, the Angels, the Athletics, the White Sox, and the Rockies, who are really out of it. Everybody else is somewhat in it.
Yeah.
And can can argue to make a push across baseball. It's not just the American League. I mean, regardless of what your opinions are, the fact of the matter is that the bad teams, there's the bad and then there's the good. And, there's not much in between. There's not a lot of mediocre teams that'd be willing to give up, on not just holding and being like, no, we're good. We don't need to
A lot
try."
could happen over the last week.
I mean, yeah.
Well, okay, so
it's true too.
here's my question. So you have what, 9-10 days until the trade deadline,
Isn't it
and
next Tuesday?
it might be.
It's the 31st, I think.
Okay, so what is that?
I think it's the
When?
30th. I know they moved it up this
Oh,
year because
okay,
they
so
wanted it to
that's-
fall on a specific day for a
So
reason that I'm
then it's a
forgetting.
Tuesday. So it's 8 days away. So you have like essentially 2 more series for teams like I'm looking
Even the
at
trade deadline is rushed with this guy.
you have I'm looking at teams like the Reds, the Cubs, the Nationals. Like I think depending on their next 6 games is gonna change a lot. Now the Cubs have kind of come out and said that they're sticking, it sounds like, and they're not gonna sell. But I think
Idiots.
like
Yeah, I agree with Will's sentiment there.
I mean, say Cincinnati goes like 1-5 of their next 6, like I think they're a lot more inclined to trade, and I think
Yes.
it's
But-
literally coming down to just a few days.
But Cincinnati is a better team than the Cubs. They're in a better situation. The Cubs they're held back, honestly, by Bellinger in that sense.
Your preseason division winner, by the way, Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, I know, I was wrong.
I actually
A lot of us were wrong.
Oh, I had the Cardinals, so that I mean, the
Hey,
Cardinals are in
they're
it.
probably gonna be a wild card team. So let's
Yeah.
be honest here.
What
What do they do? That I could not
The
figure
Cardinals-
this one out.
So the Cardinals, I think, are going to be aggressive spenders, and I think the preseason kind of tipped that. I think last season, in the eyes of the organization, was a massive embarrassment, and they're trying to do whatever possible to prevent that. Hence, they signed 3 pitchers in the offseason. So I think right now the mindset is there's some iffiness about whether their record really is as good as it should be, or if they're kind of playing well above what their bar is truly right now because of the run differential being wacko.
I mean,
is
they're
that
not gonna
now-
just fold. I think they need
No,
to
they're
improve
not
their bats.
gonna fold. They're gonna sell. They're not sell. They're gonna buy. They're gonna buy and try to build to the offense to go with the pitching and maybe one extra arm that's on the like back end side to help with the rotation. But I think I basically had the Cardinals as I see as heavy buyers to prevent of what happened last year, and that's just missing the postseason, not necessarily being last. I have the Pirates as kind of a soft buyer, where they might buy a piece or two if it doesn't break the bank, but that's kind of about it. The Reds I have literally on the bubble as I don't really see them being heavy buyers, but I also don't really see them selling a lot of stuff either. I can see them being
I think
fairly
they should hold.
complacent unless they fall apart in the last week or so. And the Cubs, I think, should sell. I think the Cubs are. This year was kind of a disaster. They need to just kind of embrace the fact that Craig Counsell maybe wasn't the solution we needed
Maybe.
to prevent the collapse we had last year.
I
So
think you gotta go with you gotta give them a couple more, like a year or two there to judge that.
no, I'm going to judge it now because I've experienced this with the Phillies bringing in Joe Girardi.
Too early.
What about the Giants? They sit 4 games under 500, but they're only 3 games out as well.
So,
And, they're a tough case.
They're tough, but they're also, if they want to do anything, offense. They need offense.
Yeah.
They need
I said
offense.
the same thing.
But again,
Make the push, go get a bat.
yeah.
But I mean, they're also in a spot where they're behind the Diamondbacks and the Padres. So it's not just a matter of they are close to trade for a few things. They have to hurdle a few teams in their own division
Yeah.
to get there.
Yeah, but the Diamondbacks pitching is sus, honestly. And
Putting it mildly.
the Padres, the Padres just don't convince me that they're gonna do much here in terms of being good.
So
but-
talking about a player before, I have Tyler Anderson going to the Padres. Like I think they
Eh.
like I think they'll be a team that makes those minor trades, hoping for it kind of
bounced in the wild card.
to fill like a void that they have. Because I don't know if they know what's going on with Darvish, and
I thought you were about to say they don't know what's going on. Period.
But I don't know. I think they're going to want to add pitching. I mean, again, they've really been propelled by Profar having a great year out of nowhere. But I think again there's just so many teams just sitting around that 500, and like you said, John, I mean, at some point, like there's only so many fish in the sea out here on the MLB trade deadline. Like it's
The dam will burst eventually.
like teams are gonna. I think we're gonna be surprised potentially by like some names being moved because outside of like all these people that have been talked about is like, all right, these are guys are definitely getting traded. Like I don't know.
I could see the Padres eventually, like in September, being one of those teams. It's like, holy crap! How did they miss? How did they miss the
Yeah.
playoffs?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think when we kind of mock them after the or not when we mock them to
I mean, I'm on
their standings,
I sure as hell did.
I think they had traded for Cease, and I think it made me and Will put them in the picture, I believe, or maybe
Until Blake Snell got traded.
yeah.
I think that's what it was. I had when Cease got traded, they were ahead of the Giants. When the Giants then got Snell,
Oh yeah,
then the
yeah.
Giants went back on top.
Yeah. So again, you just have so many teams. Another team in that kind of NL conversation is the Mets. They currently sit in a wild card spot.
So I don't
Need
think the Mets are
pitching.
going to do anything.
I don't think so either.
I think based
Yeah.
on the words of the GM going into the season, I think all this is done right now is just said they're not going to trade Alonso now.
Yeah.
They're either going to keep him, they're just going to
Which-
play it out, and they're going to just
For posterity's
look
sake.
in the young talent maybe stepping in at some point next year and
I
looking
mean,
towards the future.
I don't think they can trade him with them being in a like if they're still in that wild card spot, in a week, like I feel like it'd kind of be a disservice to trade him.
The only thing I could see the Mets maybe doing, and it's purely because of the strategic sense or strategic way that the GM handled things last offseason, is if they were to be like, you know what, we're on the bubble, but we still are very much focusing now on our future, is they decide to trade like Pete Alonso to the Astros and then like immediately trade for like Josh Bell so that they have someone that's not as good, but is like comparable enough to be like
that gives them a shot.
You can at least keep us competitive.
Yeah.
But we've gotten this haul now from Alonso that this is going to help what the overall goal is.
Again, you said Pete Alonso to Houston, and I just thought of another meme of the what the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas? That's what he was looking like in the home run derby the other night. But
no polar bear.
But yeah, I think the Mets are another team. And then moving over to the AL, the Red Sox have kept themselves in it for a lot of the year. The Rays are back to 500. So
the Rays are going to do the Rays.
I don't think the Rays.
I mean,
they're going to trade They're going to trade names, but then they're also going to buy stuff for the future. That's just what they do.
mean,
I just don't think this is their year.
Do you guys buy that they're gonna trade Rosarena? Because I don't think there's any chance.
Should
I really?
You know who they should trade him to?
The Phillies.
The Pirates.
Oh, come on! What you think we're gonna give up prospects for him? Like we're.
I think if you want to be serious about being in the postseason race again, you should, because not only would he be
yeah, you just got to pay the small
in the
price
corner
of
of the outfield.
Look, go ahead. Sorry, finish your thought.
Trade Luis Ortiz and then other people. You had Jerry Jones come back. Now
No.
suddenly you have a plethora of pitching. Trade away a young pitcher to the Rays and then regret it again like last now.
Okay, well, that's a low blow. Okay.
No, it's not.
Actually, yeah. You know what? I don't want a Rosarena. No trades with the Rays. None. Good point.
But
off the
Rosarena
market.
also has a lot of really good
Yeah.
postseason experience,
Look-
basically being the Rays' heart and soul of 2020.
If you're looking for a quality corner outfielder, there's really not another place you want to look outside of him. I don't buy that they're going to trade him. Like I see all this talk, and
I see them trading Eflin. I have Eflin going to the Brewers.
Okay, yeah.
Ladies.
Rays, I don't think they'll move either because he's been literally their only hope this year.
I mean,
Like,
they've talked about.
I've
it.
heard his name tossed around recently, and
Yeah.
it's got me thinking.
but I think
Diamondbacks would be a
but,
good team.
okay,
man.
like not even being funny when I say this, I think the Rays are content with kind of being mediocre because next year they will get some of like they'll get McClanahan back, they'll get some guys back, and I think they're like kind of okay with being okay. Does that make sense? Like they've
Yes.
they've
We're okay. We're okay.
like they've exceeded expectations the last few years, and it kind of feels like the Rays are just another team that can get away with like not doing anything and it working out. And I feel like that's what they're gonna do again. Because the Rays find a way, man. Like again, they're only 5 games out of a wild card spot after
Mhm.
all of that. So
To go back to the Red Sox real quick before we
Yes.
jump off this topic, since you also brought them up, I think they need a middle relief guy to get to from their starter to their closer.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that would do them wonders. As much as I hate to say it, I mean, don't get anything. Trade everyone.
They need a Pete
Get
Alonso.
rid of everyone.
I just felt like they were a team.
That was going to be my question: was should they go after a bat though?
I have him potentially using a right side of the infield bat if they really
Yeah.
need to.
yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, they might be someone that could go for like a Josh Bell because the Marlins are going to dump.
Yeah, I mean, the Marlins kind of already said in April that they were getting rid of everybody, including their manager. So I think there's going to be a fire show there. Yeah, they're tough, man. Like I think, like obviously it's the Red Sox. They're not afraid to be bold, and maybe that's why I think they'll do something. But
They don't act like they have money. And they do.
well, it's because
Well,
like,
here-
I guess looking on paper, it's a team that you kind of like. I still think they're kind of overachieving a little bit. Like their roster to
They
me on
are.
paper doesn't look that great. I guess,
Mhm.
even though they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think one thing for them also is that they have a new GM this year. And part of, I feel like when you get a new GM is there's kind of a buffer year where they kind of are getting used to the organization. They're starting to truly see the holes and stuff. And from my understanding, this is Braslow's also first team as a GM. And what he's trying to fill is the crap that left behind him. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he might not do a lot. It might be more of in the offseason. He might be like, we took a big stride this year. Though I will say, last year they were really good for the first half, and they kind of fell apart after the All-Star break. So that's not technically out of the equation yet.
Yeah.
But he might be looking more into how he can help and fill holes going into next year based on the success of the team this year. That being said, I do see them as a wild card team right now. And so therefore I think they should try to get probably an extra bat and maybe another like bullpen arm or something.
I think they're only going to get one or the other. I don't think they're going to get both.
Yeah.
Yeah, buy cheap.
Let's stick. There's really like maybe 3 or 4 more teams that we kind of haven't talked about. That being
Outside of the
they all
obvious
suck.
sellers. Yeah.
yes. Outside of the so we have
What
the
do
Twins.
the Twins do?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Twins and Royals.
The Twins cry. The Royals are basically buying to try to like do, I guess, good enough for this year, but looking more into the future.
Yeah.
The Royals are a team that I think could seriously look at Brett Rooker.
That's the Pirates player that they're getting. No.
Oh, that's
no.
not. Hey, I have a couple bold predictions, and Rooker isn't even Pirates or Royals. It's a whole other team, but
I mean,
they're a team that I think
Where does
could
Rooker go?
benefit.
What is your bold predictions? I want to hear this more than I care about the Twins because
Cardinals.
God damn it. Yeah. Not only is it not the Pirates, it's got to be in division. Nice.
You know what? Actually, I kind of. Eh?
That's good enough where I see him being kind of a compliment to a struggling Arenado, or I should say lackluster Arenado and Goldschmidt, but you have Burleson who's picking it up, and their DH spot basically is Carpenter. So you can do better.
I think, like you said about the Royals, they're going to be cautious. They obviously overachieved this year. They're not going to sell their future because of it, but if they can add a piece or two,
They're not
I think
trading
they're going
Bobby
to do
Witt?
it.
What?
Not this year. Maybe
they
next.
were.
Probably
They
next,
were-
but not
I
this
mean,
year.
Listen,
It's
obvious he's not going to win the Gold Glove over Gunnar Henderson.
oh god.
I don't know. After that All-Star game, people might have other thoughts.
Man, you really want to open that up, don't you?
I know.
Gotta take shots at this guy.
I think the Twins are kind of in a similar situation. Like they never want to buy either. So
I couldn't figure them out. Like they need help, but they don't. I don't see them making a move.
I feel like welcome to the Twins way, and I'm not even obviously a Minnesota fan, but I swear it's just like they don't like spending money. Like, and they find a way to get it done because
Hey,
of
they
the
went after
division.
Correa.
That's true. I mean, their division has been asked for so long, so they can kind of get away with it. But like, even coming into
Not
this year,
year.
I know, and coming in this year, remember I had questions. I was like, they really didn't spend money. They lost Sonny Gray. What are they going to look like? I mean, they stayed afloat, but
I mean,
of
they
course,
were my pick to win the AL Central by default.
Yeah, well,
Clearly this year it ain't gonna be by default.
I drank the Kool-Aid and took the Tigers, which that backfired. But I think they stick. And then looking at the NL, we sort of touched on them, the Nationals. You guys are and we're kind of all under the impression that they should stick, but they probably will sell. Like Jesse Winker would be a great piece for a team, I think. That would be the one guy for me where I'd be very interested to see
if this
he
wasn't
was
in
go.
division, I could see him going to like the Braves, but
Yeah.
Lane Thomas to the Pirates.
Lane
Keep
Thomas
on chucking.
Lane Thomas to the Pirates was something that I thought about, and
It's
think
realistic.
I think is a possibility. Yeah. Dude,
I mean, I have for the Braves are one of the teams that I have Rooker going to, along with Arozarena. Not along with or Arozarena. But
man, imagine
I
that.
have the Braves doing smaller moves, but I have them
They need
getting
help in
Cal
that
Quantrill
outfield.
from the Rockies.
they need help in the outfield, man.
Again, I feel like
Well, so they got Merrifield, which could be an interesting coin toss for them because Merrifield will fill the hole for Ozzy while Ozzy Albies is hurt. However, he does have outfield experience. He was playing some this year for the Phillies. If he can find a fraction of what he was as a hitter and be better than he was for the Phillies, he could be a fairly decent pickup. And they got him for basically league minimum because he was released.
Yeah, that sounds like just taping the hole where you need to hammer.
That's all the Braves can do. They don't have much of a system anyway.
And the Braves will turn him into the best player in the league. They've done it with
Right.
Kelnick. I mean, Kelnick, obviously the MVP, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the Nationals, they have interesting pieces that maybe teams would be interested in, but I said this. I don't know, for whatever reason, my Nationals pick was the one I was most proud of, which was me saying they'd be about a 500 team, and you guys roasting me for it. But that's my favorite one.
Their pitching is just overachieved this year. Their offense isn't great.
Yeah. Yeah,
good for their pitching. Wait till September comes and everyone decides to can end the season.
Yeah.
The last team really that I don't think we've talked about is the Diamondbacks. As we said though, pitching.
Defending National League champs.
Yes.
Their pitching needs help, and you need to build.
Their
that
pitching
bullpen.
needs a doctor.
But yeah, I mean, they've even worked their way back over up to 2 games that were 500. So
they need to upgrade their bullpen.
They snuck in
and
last
their
year.
Starters.
They did sneak in last year, but there's a lot of teams at like 51 and 49 right now.
Yeah,
like so it's gonna be really interesting.
I don't think they're gonna sneak in.
There's a lot of bullpen options. They could get 1 or 2 or something, maybe a starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what starter options are you gonna be able to compete with other teams that can offer more?
For them, they just really need to patch up until guys come back and hopefully for the postseason. Because like Merrill Kelly is still on the 60-day IL, right? But he's supposed to be back in August.
Yeah.
Like, he's been out for a huge chunk of the season. Zach Allen came back. Eduardo Rodriguez is who knows where.
Yeah.
I think they're expecting
He's
him
on
to
a
come
milk
back
carton
this year.
somewhere.
Yeah. He that big free agent acquisition of his hasn't.
I
turned out
mean,
well.
if they could get a mid to back end rotation guy just to kind of help there, that might be enough. I mean, Fott was part of that team last year, and he's not doing too bad this year for his second campaign. So,
I mean,
like-
what they really need is a noted Scott Boras
Everything.
client. What? Oh my God! I just lost his first name. What is it? James? James Montgomery? No. Oh my God! Jordan.
I hate-
Jordan Montgomery. Jesus. They need that.
man.
I butchered that. They need a noted Scott Boras client who is struggling this year, Jordan Montgomery, to step up and actually do something.
Hey, James Paxton's about to be available, so
You know, him and Jordan Montgomery look about the same, so they could have twins out there on the field.
I don't know.
because-
Paxton will probably go to like the Braves because that's what the Braves do.
Yeah. Let's finish up the show with if there's any guys that we haven't talked about, or not that we haven't talked about, that we haven't stated where we think they're going to go. If there's any names you guys want to throw out there,
Eric
of
Skubal to the Orioles.
shut the fuck up.
Well, okay, this is
They
what I'm
sent
gonna
a
say.
scout. They sent a
Wait.
scout to our AAA affiliate.
No, I think if we're gonna settle some stuff, I think we need to settle now. I think John needs to explain that thumbnail that he chose to do. I think he needs to answer for that since we're coming to the end here. So you got anything to say for yourself?
I needed something jarring, and the first players that came to my mind were all Phillies players.
Well, no. I'm saying. So yes, I agree. But here's the thing: make it work. I want you to make this trade work right now. You're on the spot. Make this work. How would this happen?
How would
Mason
this
Miller for
happen?
Bryce Harper,
yeah.
Kyle
So,
Schwarber, and Nick Castellanos.
so clearly,
Straight up, no cash
yeah,
considerations.
no cash, no draft picks. Popcorn vendor is optional. Player to be named later. No. Here's how this happens. The Phillies GM has a stroke and accidentally slides on his keyboard and accidentally types in an S and an H and a C somehow. And ends up selecting both names.
I have a better theory. I think the Athletics owner does such a good job at persuading the Phillies that, hey, you know how we said we want to see Judge in Sacramento? We also want to see Harper and Schwarber and everybody else there too, but we want them. You think you can make that happen? And because it's the little A's and they're so sweet, the Phillies said, okay, you're gonna have Mason Miller in return.
I mean,
The A's are
Harper's-
selling stock.
Yeah,
I mean, Harper's
in
from
Oakland.
Vegas.
oh, yeah, whoa, you just broke the code.
Oh, uh-oh.
I'm about to
Uh-oh.
leave this.
Hey, listen, we talked about it earlier with Guerrero being a Canadian Dominican. Now we got Schwarber, not Schwarber, Harper, who's
All right,
from
we're gonna
Vegas,
go with that
and
logic.
he's
If
gonna
we're
take
go with
he's gonna
that
take
crappy
his buddy.
logic.
He's gonna take his buddy Schwarber with him to Vegas.
And I heard Nick Castellanos loves gambling.
Yep. He's played.
No,
some
if we're
bets
gonna,
on
are you
how-
ready?
how
This is what's
long-
gonna happen. If we're gonna go from the gambling mindset, they're gonna trade Mason Miller as a joint trade to the Rockies and the Dodgers, and Chris Bryant and Shohei Ohtani go to the A's, and the Dodgers and Rockies share custody because Bryant is from Vegas and Shohei loves to gamble.
I think the MLB would dissolve first before any of that even remotely happens.
And then
Okay,
the A's trade Shohei to the Yankees for Judge, so then everything that was said about Judge in Sacramento makes
This
sense.
is true. This was all a power
Again,
play.
though, I love the idea of Bryce Harper, who has a no trade clause in his contract, waives it for a team that's not even in his hometown yet, and still has a couple years before that
Yet.
even happens.
Yet. That's the
Yet.
key. Yet.
Building up the hype before coming to Vegas.
I like the idea of a team sharing joint custody with a player. All right, you get him from Monday through Thursday, we get him for the weekend. Like, Like
It was a really nasty divorce, man. I mean, we this is all we could work out.
Hey,
all right.
listen. If Montreal and Tampa Bay can share a team, teams can share players. And you know what? It gets real confusing when they play one another because he just has to run back and forth and change jerseys.
We fixed the MLB. All right, let's go over some of the targets and see. Will, I'll go to you first. Are there any players that you think will get moved that you want to say that you haven't said so far?
We've talked about Chisholm, but I don't think I said a destination. I have him going to the Dodgers.
Of course you do.
I'll let John go next. We'll just go back and forth.
Do you have
Can
Jazz
comment.
going to a place?
Talking to me?
Yes. Do you have Jazz?
No.
Okay.
I have Tarek Skubal going to the Orioles. Honestly,
You have Mason
God, you
Miller
will
going
not
anywhere
let this
then?
go.
nope, not until
Well,
not
okay,
until
here,
July.
no, I will.
to
Here,
August 1st.
I will defend John a little bit here. Only that if the Orioles are going to make a move for either Skubal or Miller, it makes more sense in the long haul for it to be Skubal.
Yeah, obviously. The guy's going to win a fucking Cy Young this year.
Well, are you kidding me? It's not even. He has to fight Burns, but you know.
Say,
But I mean, all right. If you Burns potentially could walk next year, and if that happens, if you get Skubal, you have your ace to begin with. Though I've heard things that the Orioles, well, I figure they may try to do it, whether it's realistic or just people speaking out of their ass. Who
Labyrinth.
knows?
Yeah.
But if they went, I also see that if they Skubal maybe the A target and then the B target is Miller, and having a back end for the next like 3 years that's Miller, Bautista, and Cano, I think every hitter would crap themselves. So
No-
I mean,
no lefties
I'm not.
allowed.
I don't. If Skubal really is on the block, makes a lot of sense for the Orioles to try. If
I
He's
think
not-
they
Miller is
Orioles-
probably the next target.
the Orioles seriously have the best chance to get him away from the Tigers. Of
Orioles have the
anyone.
best chance for anyone in a trade because of their farm system.
That's exactly it. So, I mean, that's
I do see a possibility the Phillies could get Miller. I don't think they'll do it, but I can
don't think
see.
they'll do it.
I can pull out enough. I can pull names from their farm system that I think.
like I said. I think you'll get
Good
Tanner
work.
Scott before you get.
Look,
I
Mason
see the
Miller.
Phillies get. So my thing for the Phillies is that I think the Rangers should sell. At least they should sell in a traditional sense of just getting rid of the veteran players that are on
Yeah,
1 year contracts. So I could see the Phillies either having a third stint with David Robertson or being the team that pulls in Kirby Yates.
Nope. You're gonna get
All right.
Scherzer.
37-year-old Kirby Yates.
You're gonna get Scherzer.
Look,
That's what I'll say.
I don't condone violence or harm on anybody, but if the Tigers trade Skubal, the fans can blow up Comerica Park. That's allowed because that's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
What do you
I
know
do?
you're- that's
if it's
I don't
justified.
care if they trade for Jesus Christ. Like, like you have something good, don't give it away. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Are
come on
you
now.
saying Jesus Christ can't throw a fastball?
I'm sure he can.
No,
throw
but
a
what I am
fastball,
saying is
but
that
not
he'd be
like
the worst
Skubal.
water boy ever. He's not even handing out water half the time. He's just drugging the players.
Drugging, he's getting
Uh,
them drunk. He's
did
the
you-
best water boy ever.
Will, you said Vladdy to Houston, right? Was that a thought, or do you think that's where he's gonna go?
If they're gonna trade him, that makes a lot of sense. I don't think the Blue Jays will trade him in the end.
Yeah,
I think
don't
it's
think so either.
70-30. He's not leaving
Oh.
Toronto this year.
I do like my final list of trade predictions. I also had Jack Flaherty going to the Astros. I said there will be 1 3-team trade. I don't know what it is, but there always seems to be
Got
one
it.
of these that float around each year.
I've got it.
Did you have
No, John said he got the 3-team trade. I want to hear it,
Okay.
and I
It
know
is-
Skuball's involved.
It's the Phillies trading Bryce Harper.
All right, trying to wrap up the episode. John's lost his speaking privileges. I will mute
to
him.
the Athletics, who then trade Schwarber to the Dodgers for Shohei Ohtani.
John's lost his speaking privileges. I'm gonna mute him. I swear. You know, in
That's why I
that
love
sense,
that Will is in charge of the Zoom call.
I know, and Bobby thinks I won't do it. I will.
I encourage this behavior. This is the type of unhinged shit that I wanted when we switch systems.
Did you have a place for Luis Robert? I forget if you said.
I had said Dodgers also.
Oh right, yeah. The Dodgers are gonna have. They're gonna trade for a
The
whole new
Dodgers are
outfield.
known
gonna
for
go
trading
bankrupt
people
again.
that don't really belong there because
gonna-
they're
gonna
faulty for some reason.
They're gonna get
They're an
Robert.
island of misfit toys.
They're gonna get Robert and Chisholm.
Chisholm plays second base. Robert plays center field.
Fair enough.
I didn't think the Dodgers would get described as the island of misfit toys.
When you have a lot of toys that break, I mean,
And you're just the rich kid who keeps going out and buys and keeps buying more.
Do you have?
I also have the Yankees as the losers of the trade deadline,
Oh yeah.
because they won't make a move.
or
Correct.
whatever moves they make are going to be like really dumb ones. that,
Okay.
like,
Don't
just
address
goes-
their issues.
well, yeah, or they poorly do it. I just don't see it. I see the Yankees kind of. This is the season that they're kind of they're sinking fast, and I mean
Yeah.
they'll
Did they
still finish
trade
with a good
Stanton?
record at the end of the season. But I mean, what was that?
Did they trade Stanton?
Who the hell would take that contract?
I
No
don't
one would want
know.
the
I'm
contract.
just
They
throwing
could
it
be a
out
team
there.
that goes for Chisholm.
They're getting nothing
one,
for him.
one team I proposed, one trade I thought about proposing earlier, but we moved on, was a straight up Jason Dominguez for Jazz Chisholm.
I mean that. I mean that kind of makes sense, but again, what are you fixing with that? Because I guess would Chisholm go to second and then have
Chisholm. Well, the thing is, Chisholm
Gleyber
could
to
float
third.
around, but could be second. Well, the reason I kind of backed off that was because, yeah, you would need to move either Chisholm or Torres, who isn't a third baseman, over there, because the goal would be to get rid of LeMahieu, and odds
yeah.
are they'll probably trade for like a JD Davis or something. Who's
Yeah.
a minor fix at third, and you just cross your fingers that they can do something. Hey, maybe
Yeah.
they should have a reunion with Gio Urshela.
Hey,
Well,
the
I
Tigers
think they
want to
should bring
sell,
Alex
so
Rodriguez out of retirement.
the Tigers are looking to sell everything, so why not? And then did you have a actual realistic spot for Mason Miller? I already forget. I'm terrible.
I said Orioles because I don't think Scooble's going to get traded, and I think the Orioles are going to try for one of those big names.
I feel like because they're dumb, I actually feel like Mason Miller is going to stay on the A's because
I
Th-
do too.
this is when his value is the absolute highest, and relievers are so finicky. I know he throws 103, but I feel like this is at his highest, so they can't trade him now. That'd be crazy. So they'll
All
hold
right,
on
now
to
here's
him.
the trade proposal for the Phillies.
Okay.
Al
uh,
Schwarber.
Shut
Bryce
up.
Harper.
Careful.
He's getting you.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna meet him. He's gonna meet him.
I'm going to start talking. He's going to interrupt me. I actually tried to, and then I didn't hit the right spot.
So yeah,
The main thing is if the Phillies get Miller, they're gonna trade Painter, which I think is the main reason why they won't in the end. But if they decided to, the mindset is because Miller can give them a World Series within the next couple of years, and supposedly Miller has talked about the possibility of making a second chance at being a starter. So
Yeah.
the Phillies have 4 guys for the next 3 years that they can rely on with Suarez, Sanchez, Nola, and Wheeler. And in a postseason sense, that's the max you would really need. But if they wanted to give Miller a shot, they could, and it wouldn't necessarily be hurting the system. But in the minors, in the bullpen, it would be like that would be the absolute answer you would need for a hard-throwing right-handed pitcher, which I feel like is what they need in the end because they really just have Hoffman as their back-end right-handed bullpen arm. But the trade would revolve around Painter, probably Aiden Miller as well because he's kind of blocked with Harper at first and Bohm at third. And then from there, I don't know how that falls out, but that's basically the top 2 people in the Philly system right now. I think Crawford's the one that will stay.
Yeah, I think he's
because
untouchable.
he can fill a corner outfielder center field spot in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think they're viewing him as untouchable. I mean, Christ, Miller's already taken the Phillies private jet, so they already are getting to know each other well.
Hey, Shohei did the same thing with the Blue Jays. Look how that turned out.
that was a betrayal on Toronto as a city. It was absolutely insane. John, was
That's why
there
they're failing.
was there anything that we haven't talked about or players that moving that you wanted to say before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm
Okay.
I'm all in on the camp of the Tarek Skubal seriously, but in terms of Mason Miller, I agree with Will. I don't think that the A's are going to trade him just because I don't think that their organization is smart enough to do that.
Yeah.
So, and regardless of whether it's a reliever or a starter, Tommy John, when you throw 103, Tommy John does not discriminate. So,
Except if you're Paul Skeens and have a great mustache. Hopefully.
and a ton of acne.
Okay. Jesus Christ. I mean,
Again, reminder that guy with acne is pulling Livy Dunn. Just you can't keep making fun of his appearance and not
Listen,
see who he's got on his
listen.
arm.
When I'm making $50 million a year for the next 150 years from the Pirates, because I'm gonna end up ringing that organization for all they're worth.
Well, let's be honest. If he tries to rake that in, the Pirates are going to have to let him go.
I mean, the Pirates.
They need to lock him down cheap.
I think the Pirates' biggest contract in the last, I don't know, forever was like $15 million. So that's probably fake news, but it feels like it. Bob Nutting doesn't.
Dodger or
Listen,
Yankee, let's be
I don't even
honest.
care whatever happens at the trade deadline. I just give me at least one bet for the Pirates. One, two would be great, but just give me one at least, and I'll be happy. Brent Rooker, man, I want Brent Rooker so bad. He is a beast, but
you get Brent Rooker and Randy Arozarena, and Tyler has a freaking party.
they won't trade for Arozarena. I have belief in that, but they might.
Tyler will make sure that the Rays are not on the Pirates contact list.
Yeah,
after what happened last time.
You know what's going to happen. Arozarena will come in and I'm not even going to speak that into existence, but it can't happen. The Rays have done us dirty before. They can't do it again. But that is all for us here on episode 20. Enjoy the trade deadline coming up. We will I don't think we'll be doing a show before that. We'll have to see. But again, a lot of movement going to be happening. So we'll try to jump on some videos and talk about what is going on around the league and how that impacts the rest of the season. And it's crazy because in just a little over a week, we're going to be in August already. So we're already coming down to it here in the MLB. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at BL_breakdowns. You can follow us everywhere else at Big League Breakdowns. Make sure to subscribe here on YouTube and like the video if you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time for episode 21.
Wear your seatbelt.